Hi, Zach Reiser here, and welcome back to another Bass Effects review video. Today I am getting into the Sonicsmith Squaver P1 Plus. The P1 Plus is a monophonic analog synthesizer that is controlled by your instrument's audio. Now this thing has a lot of controls on the surface. It's a very big pedal, and I'm not going to have time to get through everything. And up front, I'm going to say that I'm not going to touch the side chain or the ACO CV input. It's just something that I wouldn't use very much, but I am going to go through most of the surface controls and some of those CV inputs and outs on the surface as well. So let's jump right into it. You're not going to be hearing my dry bass very much, but here is my dry bass Dingwall ABZ 6-string on the neck pickup. So right out of the gate, I need to set up a few things really quick. I need to have my input gain set where I'm sending the Squaver a really strong signal just right before clipping, right before this red LED shows. And then I'm choosing the up position for this little input filter here. It's where it tracks best for my bass. And then finally, the gate. The gate is incredibly important if you don't want the Squaver to be picking up all of your fret noise, string ring, etc. Without the gate on, it can be pretty glitchy. The gate is really where it cleans up, and I'll show you that now. So without any gating, it's going to pick up everything from if I tap on my bass, if I move my fingers, you hear this random square wave come out. So I'm going to turn that gate up about halfway. And now it's only going to signal the synthesizer when I break through that certain volume threshold for the gate. Now, in my opinion, next up, if you really want this thing to feel like your instrument, like your guitar or bass, you need to route the envelope to the VCA. Otherwise, no matter how hard or soft you pluck, the synthesizer is always the same volume, which if you're a string player, is kind of an unintuitive feeling. So I'm going to click this envelope destination switch on the VCA to on, and now you'll hear that if I play soft, the synthesizer will be soft. If I play a little harder, and then finally, if I play hard, I get the full dynamic range of my instrument. One more quick setup thing here is that I have the mix set completely on the synth. You could blend in your bass signal or your guitar if you want that blended sound, but for this video to really demonstrate the synth, I'm basically going to leave it on that full synth side all the time. All right, so let's finally get to the oscillator section. So let's hear what this sounds like on the full sawtooth side. Sorry, on the square wave side. Same settings, but now sawtooth. And at the end there, you hear that it does track pretty well all the way down to my low B. I have the range set at essentially unity, so it's playing the same pitch as my bass. Now, of course, I could kick this up an octave. Or if I really wanted to get into the ear-piercing range, 2 octaves up. Now, I'm not really sure why, but for whatever reason, at least on my setup, it tracks much better when it's set at unity than it does when it's up an octave. So now let's hear what that oscillator sounds like when it's blended between square and sawtooth, so right in the middle. Now, at any point in time, I could roll in a pure square wave sub-oscillator, which I'll do now. So without it, And now the sub-oscillator by itself, super fat square wave sub, and then a 50-50 blend of the main oscillator and then an octave down sub-oscillator. So the P1 Plus has a very complex filter in it. It gives you low pass, band pass, and high pass, and it gives you a 2-pole or 4-pole version of any of those filters. Let's start with the built-in envelope. So I'm going to click the envelope destination knob up here so that it's now controlling the filter, and you'll hear that as I pluck, that filter is opening up more and more depending on how hard I pluck. And like most filters, you have a resonance control, which essentially just accents the filter. However, one thing about the P1 Plus is that it actually will overdrive the filter if you turn the resonance up too much. So I'll show that now. It's actually a pretty cool sound if you want that kind of dirty, raw synth sound. I also have it set up on the 4-pole low pass setting right now because it's kind of the fattest, synthiest, juiciest filter for bass sounds, in my opinion. Just to show off the 2-pole side, so here's the 4-pole side as shown. And let's click that to 2-pole. As a bass player, I'm not going to use the band pass or high pass very much because it gets rid of all my low end. But just so you can hear that, here's the 2-pole band pass setting. And now here is the 4-pole band pass setting, but I've turned the cutoff frequency down a little bit lower. And actually, this is a sound I think is pretty gnarly. So this is a 4-pole high-pass filter, which obviously, as I pluck, it's going to cut all that low end out, but then it kind of sweeps all that low end back, and with this really dirty resonance. It's a pretty nasty sound. Moving on to the expression pedal. So the P1 Plus gives you an expression pedal input, and it allows you to control the filter, the octave, or the harmony with that particular selector switch right there, and then you can control quite a few other things with the CV jacks on the front. So I've clicked off the envelope control of the filter, and now I'm just controlling the filter with my foot. Now, the nice thing about the P1 Plus is it's not an either-or kind of thing when it comes to your choice of modulation destinations. So I can control the filter with both the expression pedal and the built-in envelope if I click this back on. So now as I'm sweeping my foot forward, I'm sweeping the cutoff higher and higher, but the envelope is still pushing the cutoff with each pluck of my note. The P1 on the surface does not give me control of the volume or the VCA with expression, but I can route the expression output into the VCA, and now my foot is controlling the volume of the oscillator. Now let's turn the expression pedal switch to VCF, and now my expression pedal is controlling the volume, the VCA, and the filter cutoff, the VCF. And to make this a little bit synthier, I'm going to add some nice rich analog delay. Now I want to show the P1 Plus interacting with some external gear. So I have the Moog MF102 ring modulator. I'm sending an LFO to the filter cutoff. So now I'm not controlling the filter with the expression or the envelope. I'm controlling it with an external LFO, and you get this kind of classic auto filter or auto LFO. Another classic example of using an LFO with a synthesizer is to control pulse width modulation. Now, I haven't shown this knob yet. It's this guy right here. You can control it with the internal envelope, which is a cool sound where you're kind of moving that quickly with the envelope. But it's a very just interesting, almost chorusing or detuning sound when you do it with an LFO. So without this plugged in, I'm getting a totally static square wave. But now, I'm taking that LFO from that Moog MF102, and it's slowly turning this knob back and forth. Let's make that same sound a little bit thicker. So I've clicked on my envelope control of my filter, and now I still have that LFO pulse width modulation going on. And the last thing that I want to do here with the P1 is just combine it with a few kind of subtle effects to show how much kind of breadth you can give to a simple monophonic synth by just adding a little bit of color. So right now I have the P1 set up exactly as shown, nothing externally plugged into it. Sounds like this. Just quickly, I want you to note that I have the VCF and the pulse width modulation both being controlled by the envelope. Now, though, let's click on some flanging, some analog flanging from my ADA flanger and see what that does to this sound. Similar idea here, but now I'm putting a really large detune setting on from my Digitech Bass Whammy. So without the whammy, it sounds like this. And then with that detune. And lastly, just because we can, let's have some fun. So I have the Squaver running into the detune on the whammy, into the flanger on the ADA, and then finally into some analog delay. So that is my demo of the Sonicsmith Squaver P1 Plus monophonic analog synthesizer. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe below. It really does help me out. And I will be back very shortly with more effects pedal reviews, tips and tricks, and performance videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.